Okay, now we have the cabinet here totally cleaned out. We've got the components removed. We have the power supply here, cables. We have an SD card unit plus a USB connector here that will add to the cabinet. We have the hard drive here. This hard drive is known to be a 250 gig hard drive. We have the SDR3 card memory chip for RAM. By the way, this is 1 gigahertz. Then we have the power supply, the cooler that goes and mounts directly over the processor chip, which is right here, and is held in by a spring-loaded unit. Then we have the extension here that goes on this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to clean out this cabinet. Notice this cabinet here. We have the connectors for the keyboard, the mouse. We have the video input here. Older for a printer. It's not used much anymore. We have USB. We also have Ethernet here. And then we have the connectors for the audio and microphone here. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean this out. Again, we're going to use this. Realize this is dusty. In better applications, you would use a very small vacuum cleaner where you can get to reduce the amount of dust, because that is something, spraying the dust is going to land somewhere. By having a special microfiber vacuum cleaner, we can clean this out. So here we go. Also, make sure that you get inside here, as dust will like to build up in here. Also notice this can gets very cold when it gets used for any longer period of time. Please be aware of that. Okay. Alright, looks like we have pretty much everything cleaned out. Now what I like to do is I'd like to take one of these wipes here. Again, this is the electronic cleaning wipes. So you can just kind of clean everything, make sure that you've gotten the rest of it. Make sure your components are good and clean, your connectors. And just generally give it a good wipe down on the components here. The more you can get the dust off, the better off you'll be by putting this stuff back together and not having to worry about any compromise with dust in your unit. Okay, now we have the unit cleaned. Now, different ways you can put this together. I like to wait to the last before I put the hard drive on, because the hard drive is usually the most critical component out of everything besides the processor. Now, putting in the motherboards on there are pretty simple. I mean, you have screws here that'll hold it in. So this one has 4 screws that holds it in to this. We're not going to pull this out because it's not necessary to at this point in time. When you put one of these together, you may have to. Be aware of the way the cabinet is made. Motherboards fit differently depending on the cabinet. Plus the requirements that are needed for what is being used for the application needs to be known, because sometimes your graphic card will be permanently on here. Other times it will not. In this case, this one is not. Again, with this processor, this is a removable processor and can be changed and upgraded. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and clean this unit off, like so. We have a CD, DVD writable disc unit. And here we'll take another one of these wipes and wipe it down. The duster gets most of it off, but it does not get where it's magnetized and will adhere to it. So it's good just to take this, make sure you get it cleaned up good. Be sure to throw your stuff away. Once you use it, you don't want to use it again. Okay, and we're going to slip it in here, like so. Then we're going to take a screwdriver so we can bolt this in here properly. Notice that on these cabinets there tends to be two different size screws. Typically the smaller screw will work on these components, while the bigger screws will hold in the power units, and as well as any components that you put in here in the cards for the card slots. Now during this time, just pay attention to make sure that when you put it in here that you put it in snugly. You don't have to force any component in. Okay, next we're going to put the SD card adapter unit in here. Some computers have this, some don't. It depends on what your requirements are. This is a home PC, so it tends to be more usable because you can use cameras, movie type applications, slip it in here and it'll directly download into your PC. Okay. Remember again, don't force things. Pull them out, look at it till you can get it to where it lines up. Forcing a component will damage it. Now again, notice that we have the plug here. We want to take our plug, we want to put it down here. Okay. Alright. Now, we've got that one in there. Now, the next thing is, let's take our cables. Put our cables in here. Again, we don't want to force our cables, because you will break the board if you're not careful. So our cables are here. We want to take this one here. We want to connect it. Actually, let's wait on that at the moment, because we still have a couple more components we want to put it back into this unit. Now here we have the cooling fan. As we can see, the dust here that has compounded. So we want to be very careful when we blow it out, because we want to get this is critically important on these units. Because what happens is, as you can tell, you'll still see dust in there that gets caught up. So we want to make sure we get what we can out of it. You don't rush the job, just take your time. At the moment the can is getting quite cold, so I have to let it cool down for a minute before I can go back and use it. It's nice to have, if you can, maybe even a small little air compressor with maybe only like 5 pounds of air, 5 to 10 pounds, so you can use to get through here if you need to. Okay, we have this unit down. We have it back to what we want it to. Now, to put this unit back in, this will require a long screwdriver because of its location. Start one screw in, being careful not to strip it. Same thing here. We want to go down here and again do the same thing. Okay, and same thing down here. Now realize there is a piece back here that this is actually screwing into behind the board. Do it in a cross pattern as you're tightening it, because that way you're not over torquing. Okay, we're going back up here. We're going to torque this down. Okay, no, we're just going to tighten it down at the moment. Okay, we don't want to torque it down yet. We just want to get it snug. Generally this would be faster, but because we're at the doing this as an educational, we want to take our time to make sure that we're doing it right first time. So that way we're not having to worry about second guessing ourselves or having to come back. Now, that's in there secured. Now, we can go over here and we can take this and be sure that we have it plugged in here correctly. Okay, now it's plugged in.